Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Code Ninjas Executive Call. My name is David Graham. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Code Ninjas. I appreciate your time in joining us today. I know you're busy. You're all professionals, and you have things to do and families to take care of. This call is set up so that you can have another channel to learn more about Code Ninjas. We do it every single week at 11 o'clock Central Time. Here's how this call is going to go today. I'll give you a little bit of history about how we got where we are, some of the exciting things that we're doing today, talk a little bit about the growth of our company and our strategy looking forward, and then after that we can go into a Q&A session. That Q&A session is totally up to you. If you have a question that's on your mind or something that's been out there and you need it to get answered, feel free to raise your hand virtually after the Q&A session starts, and we'll get that answered for you as quick as possible. Those aren't softballs. We don't have anybody staged on this call. We don't have people calling in to give me the answers or questions that we're looking for. So anything that comes to mind, nothing's off limits. You go right ahead and ask it. It is a pretty big call today, so I will ask that you limit your calls to your questions to two at a time. So pick the two questions that you have most on your mind. All right, let's get it kicked off. Let's start by talking about a little bit of the history of our company. We started in 2016, and we took about 6 months to really understand the market, the space, our competition, and understand everything that was going on in the world of teaching kids how to code. We looked at a lot of online sites. We looked at other people in the market space. We looked at other franchises that are attempting to do something similar. And what we saw was at that time that there was a real gap between what was available out there and a fun way to engage kids for a long period of time. So when we were first kind of visualizing what we were going to do, we went to the kids first, and we said, what if you had a place where you could come and learn how to code by playing video games? And that was kind of cool. About 50% of them liked that idea. And then we kind of flipped it a little bit and said, what if we had a place that you could go and build your own video games and learn how to put something in the App Store? And, everybody lights up because they have this dream of putting their own app in the App Store, making a lot of money and that kind of thing. So almost every kid to a person really loved that idea. And so we started from there. And then we looked at who could be teachable kids. Our age range is 7 to 14, and that's really the age range that it's a sweet spot for people being able to absorb this kind of information and be able to sit down for 55 minutes in a row. On the low end of that, a 6-year-old just has a hard time sitting down for that long and focusing on what they need to do. Additionally, most of our curriculum is self-taught, or it's self-paced, as we say. So it does require some reading skills. On the high end of that, high schoolers pretty much think they know everything, and so it's a little bit more difficult to teach them in that kind of environment. So we really fine-tuned our age range to 7 to 14 because these kids are the ones that are going to come in, sit down, get their work done, and enjoy the experience. So everything we built from there was really branded as far as the ninjas, the cartooniness, the look and the feel and the messaging, and just the kind of the vernacular we use throughout the curriculum is geared towards kids that are in that range. And so far, we've been very successful at that. We have really struck a chord with the kids, and we sent out a poll to our parents, and the number one thing they said is they wish their kid could come more often, that their kid is asking them to come more often. So, obviously we're doing something right in that part of our business, and I think that's part of our growth. And what you've seen in our growth is that we're striking that chord properly. But not only that, but we're also hitting the other side of the coin, which is when we were developing this, in order to keep the person paying the bill for the longest engaged as well, which is the parents, we knew that we had to take care of them. My new phrase that I'm saying are the 5 Ps is pampered parents pay premium prices. It's a little bit funny. I like alliteration because it's easy to remember, but if we focus on that, if we take care of our parents, if we give them a comfy couch, free coffee, free Wi-Fi that's easy to access, we give them a big screen TV, and then we give them a quiet place to hang out. Those things really matter to parents is what we found out. Some parents come to us and say, this is the best 55 minutes of my day. Like, I just have nothing to do. I can sit here and I can read my magazine or my book. I can put my headphones on and jam out while I read some news. And I just don't get that opportunity anywhere else in a comfortable environment. And they really appreciate it. And, and another part of that is we make sure that the parents understand where the kids are in the program. They're paying for it. They want to see the progress. They want to understand why is he building this game where tacos fall from the sky and cat catches it? Why is that even important? It seems like they're not learning anything. We need to apply. We need to let the parents know what their applied knowledge is by learning that game. And so we built a parent portal that will roll out later this month that is going to be really integrated with that experience. We've also made sure that along the way parents can track things in paper format if they want to. We just have communication with parents as they're leaving the center. Hey, did you know what Johnny did today? Johnny made this great game, and he learned about the Cartesian plane. That's the XY axis, and Johnny's going to pipe up about that time and say, yeah, Mom, it was great. I made the tacos fall from the sky, and yada yada yada. So we really engage the parents to make sure they stay engaged. The kid, they understand where their kid is on the path. And, the belting system that is integrated through our drop-in program is so key to that because they can see it as over time at the 3-month intervals or 6-month intervals, wherever their kid is at, that they are making progress and they do get some public recognition. They do get that smile on their face and move up to the next advanced level. And so all of that brought together, where the kids really fill their want bucket and the parents are filling their need bucket, that's a nexus that doesn't happen very often, and that is our growth strategy. I mean, that is the reason why we are getting so popular. To date, we've sold 169 territories in 26 states to about 65 or 67, and somewhere in there, franchisees. It's hard to keep track of because we're growing so fast. We're on track to be one of the fastest growing franchises of all time, and that's including opening 50 by July and 100 by the end of this year to be open centers across the country. You go check out the map on our CodeNinjas.com locations page, and you'll see that we are very expanded. And if you go to our competition, that didn't happen. And I think the reason is that we struck a chord between that want and need balance for kids and parents. Let's talk about our ways to make money in our facility real quick. The drop-in program is our only required program. That's the Code Ninjas drop-in program is 3 to 6 is what we do, but sometime during after-school hours, kids can come in anytime the parents have time to bring them, 2 times a week for 1 hour per visit. That means that's charged monthly. Here in Pearland, we charge $225 a month for that. The kids come in. They sit down, they get their book, whatever belt they're on, they open up their computer, and they read their book and do the lessons. They love it. It's a fun experience. They're building their own games and finishing some of our own. We've also partnered with Code Combat to build custom lessons and customize that experience so they can have their own Code Ninjas in another platform. And both of those two things combined solve different problems, but together they really keep the kid engaged no matter who they are. And it's a really fun time for them. They know every single time that they come to a Code Ninjas, they're going to have a great time. And that's what we want to keep it. We want to keep it in that sweet spot. Every belt comes with a kind of predefined set of things that you get out of the box. You're going to have a full table of contents. You're going to have full teaching materials. You'll have full lessons, obviously, for the kids to go through, a glossary. But it also comes with something that's pretty unique to Code Ninjas, which is a set of flex projects that are at the end. So if you have a kid that comes in and really knows Scratch very, very well, or something in the white belt very, very well, you have a set of 10 different exercises that you can flexibly issue to different students. So that student it breezes through our main curriculum, you can give him all 10 lessons and say, this is your prove yourself assignments. Prove yourself and build all these out. And it's not paint by numbers on those prove yourself. They have to really know what they're talking about to get through it. Now, all those prove yourself lessons come with a compendium for the senseis who are our teachers to go through and visualize and understand how to do it, so you can help them through, but it's not the paint by numbers that is the regular courseware. So we have some flex space in there. So at the end of every lesson, you know you're going to get, when a kid enters a belt, I should say, you know that you're going to get that 3-month investment from them, and that's what we want. As a business, we want to make sure that we time everything right, that they stay on pace. So as they go through, if the kid is going slower and it took him 2 months to finish the regular lessons, well, maybe you only give him 2 or 3 of the prove yourself lessons to really make sure he understood his skills so that he can move forward and stay confident in what he's doing. So we've really geared this to be a business that keeps kids engaged at their level and self-paced. That's the drop-in program. The next program that I want to talk about is optional, but I think you'd be remiss if you didn't add it to your center, are summer camps. Summer camps are week-long events where you bring kids in from either a half-day or a full-day. Half-day at the Pearland camp. Pearland facility is $200. The full day is $300. We will be going up on those prices as we get closer to summer, but that's the prices right now. You can see all the prices for the summer camps on our website, so you can see the different facilities charge different prices. We do have a minimum pricing set, but the maximum and a maximum, and you just need to fall in that range. Around the country, different areas can absorb higher prices than others. That's just the way it goes. So we do allow that flexibility for our franchisees. The summer camps are a little bit more, let's say, group activity. There's the sensei stand up in the front of the room and kind of lead through the objectives for the day, and then the kids take over and finish out for the rest of the day. The full day camp goes on at the same time as the half day camp. It's not a different set of teachers or curriculum. It's just that the afternoon is filled with whatever they want to do, basically, STEM-related. And we don't make any allusions to parents that it's anything other than extra time for them to get off work and come pick up their kids a little bit later. Now, some of the franchisees took the summer camp idea and really ran with it, and they want to run 2 half-day camps. And so we've accommodated that. You'll see if you go to some of the websites that they have a morning half-day and an afternoon half-day. We really thought that was a good idea for some of our centers, and we allow that flexibility for them to really figure out what works for them. So that's the summer camp idea. It runs, and we got a spring break camp going on right now. We'll have anytime that the kids are out of school. And in some parts of the country, in North Carolina, for example, I know that they have year-round kind of flex options where their kids are going for 6 weeks and out 2 weeks. And so this summer camp option really does go to a year-round camp option, and it's kind of neat that they can run camps year-round. It's just unique to their area. But how you use those summer camps and fit it into your local community is up to you. The third way is the after-school program. So the after-school program is exactly what it sounds like. We pick them up from school 5 days a week, bring them back to the facility. 2 of those days that they come back to the facility, they'll work on STEM activities that are just over-the-counter products, but they have to be STEM-based. So maybe they're doing snap circuits, or maybe they're putting together some over-the-counter robotics kits, or playing some STEM-based board games. They're a lot of fun. We have a few different robots that they can program and things like that in our center. We're real flexible about what you bring to the center as far as that's concerned. We do have a list of recommendations, and you can pull from that list just to have kind of the same lot that everybody else does. But if you have some products that you want to bring in that are over-the-counter and kids love, just ask your support rep, and they can help you out in getting those approved for your center. Another 2 days, so Monday, Thursday at our center, the kids will do the drop-in program. So it's the regular curriculum. They'll move at the same pace as everybody else, but they just do it 2 days a week because we don't want them breezing through it. On Fridays, we just pop popcorn, and everybody has a great time playing games and doing whatever they want to do, basically, because nobody likes to work on Friday, and that's what we do. We give you this full schedule. We help with their homework when they first get there, but we're not a tutoring center. We're just adults that can look over their shoulder and kind of help out. We're not guaranteeing that they'll have their homework done or anything like that. Parents still need to have the obligation and responsibility to oversee their kids' homework. So We're not a tutoring center, but we try to help out where we can. We're also not a daycare, so make sure you make that distinction as well. So that's the answers. Those are the three main ways that you can make money in your center. There's a couple of others that are honorable mentions and more of a lead generation than they are a revenue center. Birthday parties are pretty key. You can have, up to, 20 students or something, 20 kids come into your center, and it's kind of just a free-for-all with cake and pizza and video games and robotics kits out and just having a lot of fun. And those are really popular, but they're also a great way to get leads. So everybody that comes in needs to fill out the lead card and put them in the bucket, and we usually have some kind of drawing or something to incentivize that. Another way that you can do it is Parents' Night Out. Parents' Night Out is on Fridays. You can have a 4-hour block or 5-hour block where your kids can come in, where any kids in the community can come in. We charge $40 in Pearland. And they just come in, have a great time. Again, it's kind of a free-for-all. We just put out a bunch of robotics kits, have a lot of fun things for them to do. We do have a learning table where they can actually learn to code a little bit. None of that is our curriculum, kind of over-the-counter products that we can help them through. But nonetheless, they have a lot of fun. And every single one of those becomes a lead into your system and your engine to get driving people into that drop-in or after-school program, and that's really what it's all about. All right, well, that's our programs. That's how the bulk of the money is made. We do have, that's inside the center. We have recently introduced the Dojo to Go, which is very exciting. We have a couple of franchisees getting on board with that product. That's a 28-foot trailer that's pulled by a truck that goes around to different schools and events in your local community. You can do birthday parties at people's houses. It's got 5 55-inch flat-screen TVs, Xbox One X's, and Nintendo Switches all in there. You can set 12 people in there at once. But we also have flexible tables that come in and out, and you can set up tables outside for things like drone parties, robotics parties, all kinds of edutainment events that to bring what we do so well in our centers out into your community. That's been a big request from a lot of our franchisees and potential franchisees that they want to be able to go out into the community. To buy a Dojo to Go, you do have to have a center. So that's not a standalone product. That's an add-on to an existing center. I'm going to go ahead and open up the line to questions. If you have a question, you can raise your hand by hitting *6 and putting your question in the queue. I'll go down the list as quickly as I can. There's only one question that I can't answer, and that's anything that leads to revenue. So don't ask me what's a break-even number. Don't ask me how much a center can potentially make. Anything like that is really limited by what we have in the FDD. The FDD is available. If you don't have it yet, you need to get in touch with Marty. That's MARTY at codeninjas.com. And Marty can send that over to you or get you in touch with Jeff, and he can send it over to you. Someone on the team will help you out there. Any other question is full go. So when I unmute you, if you could, just tell me your name and where you're calling from. Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi. Yep.
Hi, my name is Devendra, and I'm calling from Connecticut. And my question is, this is a coding franchise, and it definitely needs some kind of like a mathematical interest in the kid. But if some parents, they are willing to send their kids to the coding, but they don't have a good knowledge of how to logically interpret things or do mathematics, just like you said, doing the Cartesian plane things, and how do you approach those agendas with the kids?
So your question, I'm sorry, I don't quite understand your question, to be honest. Are you saying how do we approach telling people what mathematics are involved with understanding coding?
Yes.
Well, to be honest with you, we're not a mathematics facility. We don't even teach mathematics. They kind of learned a little bit about math through just necessity, but everything we teach is going to be is going to be coding related. So, I mean, I was a programmer for 25 years, and frankly, I'm just not very good at math, but I can think through problems and problem solve. I think that's probably what we would focus on in that situation. It's not a mathematics course. We don't, so I don't know exactly. Does that answer your question?
Kind of. Basically, I myself as a programmer, and the biggest challenge, trying to teach my kid as well, is basically how do we have a ball spin around on the cosine axis or a sine axis. So if something like an animation that needs to be done, usually if they have a good background
so if there's something
of
that's super complex, obviously we can't start talking about trigonometry to a 7-year-old. So we obfuscate that from them in a way that's fun and keep them engaged. And so what you got to understand is coming out of this program, this is edutainment. This is not education. We want everything that we do here to be fun, engaging, and they're going to learn some key concepts along the way, of course, but they're not going to be professional programmers at the end of our course. They're going to have a rudimentary understanding of programming. They're probably going to be able to publish something to the App Store. But, education is different than edutainment, and we are very focused on keeping them engaged, having fun, and learning something along the way. So we can't put a square peg in a round hole, as they say. We can't teach trigonometry and calculus to 7-year-olds. It just doesn't work. So we give them functions and tools to get along that path. Does that make sense?
Yes. Another question. You mentioned about the App Store. So can you elaborate a little bit more on how this App Store works, or if they want to share their app or whatever they've created with their friends on the smartphone or tablets? How would they do that?
Well, that's part of our secret sauce, but by the time they make it to the black belt, they'll have the skill set and the know-how to build their own game of their own intent and publish it into the App Store. And usually it's going to be the Google App Store because there's higher fees for the Apple App Store, but if their game is good enough and their parents want to fork over the money, they can certainly publish it to the iOS one as well.
Okay, so you do provide all the tools to help them transition from their framework to the Google App Store or the Apple App Store?
Yes, that's part of our curriculum.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. I thought we were done there. So, sorry about that.
Hello, Mark Chapin from Lincoln, Nebraska. A couple of questions I have are looking at what's the average square footage for the property that you're looking for, and what's the average staffing size?
Sure. I'll talk about both, no problem. The average square footage that we're seeing that our franchisees are going into is right at 2,300 square feet, and we think that that's kind of the ideal size. I've gone around the country to a lot of grand openings now, and I've seen them all the way from 1,600 to 3,500. And the 2,500 square foot seems to be the most logical size. As far as staffing, you can start out pretty lean and mean. I think every center has to have a full-time director. That's going to be, for all intents and purposes, the person who's running the day-to-day operations. That is a full-time job, and you have to have a warm body designated full-time to that position. You can't spread them across multiple centers or anything like that. So every facility has to have at least one full-time person engaged in building that center. As far as senseis, and that's what we call our teachers, senseis are, you can probably start out with a couple. It depends on how well your pre-sale goes, frankly. I think we're seeing extraordinary pre-sale numbers, so most people are starting with a few more. But if you pre-sale 50 to 100 students, 50 to 60 students or something crazy, you're going to need more than 2. But if you have a lower pre-sale number, you can probably get away with 2. And these are for the most part AP students in high school. They're the kids that I would have hung out with in high school. You're nerds. You're a little bit more ambitious kids, let's say. They're the guys that in their junior year applied to college already, that kind of thing. So we have quite a long bench in our Pearland Center now, because we do have quite a few students there in the drop-in program. And so they are still young adults, so we want to make sure that we have some flexibility in scheduling and things like that. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Great.
Hi, this is David from California.
Hi.
Yes, following up on those questions regarding the instructors or the sensei you were mentioning, do they have to have like a basic training, or do they have to go to like do they have to travel to your location to gain some training of the curriculums? And then I have another question regarding the curriculums too.
Yeah, let me answer the first one before you move on to the second.
Okay.
So the answer to your question is the senseis, 17, 18, maybe 22-year-old people, they can go through the curriculum ahead of the students, and they can go through it fairly quickly. You do need to pay them to do that. We don't ask them to train without getting paid, but they can go through it for the most part in a few days per book if they're working hard on it. And that's because, what's hard to a 7, 8, 9-year-old is pretty easy for a 17, 18, 19-year-old. So the main training that we go through with them is just to know the material, and then the job that you have to do is to make sure that they're people, they're kid-friendly. We want them to be nice, engaging, helpful, patient, all those things that make a good teacher. And so we give you some help with that kind of stuff too. That's training your director and you on who to look for in your senseis, what to look for. But for the most part, the technical training is just going to be your senseis going through the material ahead of your students.
Oh, okay, I see. So basically, we can kind of get a pool of people so that they can kind of rotate in on a timely basis or something, so they don't have to go for.
All of our senseis are part-time. Yeah, all the senseis are part-time, so they may work 2 to 10 hours a week. It just depends on who it is.
All right. The second question I have regarding the curriculum. So for the kids that comes in and they join, it sounds like the drop-in program is the main thing. But then the other, like not the daycare, but the after-school program, if they sign up for, so they'll do some kind of like self homework kind of time, and then they'll participate in the drop-in program. So for the curriculum, do they have so it doesn't sound like there's going to be a class there where everyone kind of learning same thing at the same time.
Yeah, there is no class. There is no classroom. Mm-hmm. There is no instructional period. Everything is self-paced. So if somebody wants to come in, the after-school program is a little different because we pick them up and bring them. But in the drop-in, if somebody wants to come in at 4:43 instead of 5:43, that's their prerogative. That's a beautiful thing, and it's one of the biggest benefits to the Code Ninjas program is that we work around their schedule, and they just come in whenever they want to. So to answer your question, I think you're kind of getting around is how is it structured? Is it lectoral? I mean, everybody is in the same class at the same time. White belts, yellow belts, orange belts, everybody's there at the same time.
Oh, okay.
Working at their own pace.
Okay.
They pick up a book and work on their own. You get me?
Okay. Yeah, got it. Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, hi. My name is Vikas, and we are from New Jersey area. So my question was, how long does it take to open the franchise, like from start to end? And then I have another question after that. So.
Sure. So our average right now from FDD to grand opening event is 7.1 months. So that means if you've already been disclosed, you're already on your path, and the average opening time would be 7 months.
Okay. And second question was basically we do have few other questions. So I know the limit is for 2 questions. So is it possible to get kind of like an individual call or some additional details so that we
Absolutely.
can?
Yeah. If you have a ton of questions, and I'm glad, we're always happy to answer those. Get in touch with someone from the franchise development team. That's going to be either Marty or Jeff.
Okay.
If you haven't reached out to them, go ahead and send Marty an email, marty at codeninjas.com. He'll get you set up with either him or Jeff, and they can answer all the questions.
All right, great. Thank you very much, Jeff.
Sure.
Hi, this is Jay from Virginia. I had a question on two things. One is, can you expand more on what kind of kits do you provide to students to enable the learning experience?
What kind of kits?
Yeah, kits.
I'm not following you. Sorry.
So what are they working on? Are they working on computer software? Are they working on some intelligent kits like Legos and stuff that they can program?
Yeah. Okay. No, I can. Yeah, so we have a proprietary and exclusive manufacturer of our robotics kits, which is for part of the first 4 belts, and I'm happy to announce for the first time that we'll also have a summer camp offering in robotics as of today. Actually, I just signed the agreement for that, but the kits are extra. The parents pay for them. They are a part of the curriculum, and they are required, but they're an exclusive kit that has a built-in Arduino, servos. It's much like a Mindstorm kit or something like that, but you can't find it anywhere else other than at Code Ninjas.
Okay. And how do you, that answers the question. I want to go into more details about that, but I'll do that in a one-on-one. And the second one is, how do you plan to, what is the radius for opening a center? Like if there's a center, a few miles from my place, and I want to open one. What are your guidelines regarding the geographical placement of your franchises?
Yeah, so it depends on where you are in the country, really. I mean, if you're in New Jersey or New York City, I mean, you could literally go 2 miles and have 10,000 new students. It's just it really varies dramatically. But if you're in Lufkin, Texas or something, the whole town only has 5,000. So it just depends. We say the territory the territory is based on demographics. So we expand your circle depending on the number of demographics that we feel you need to be successful. It's not in our best interest to pack people in right next to each other. That's not what we want to do. We're a percentage-based royalty company, so it's in our best interest to actually have breadth, to have width in our ability to take in all the kids. And so we make sure that our facilities are sustainable on their own. And so that does vary a little bit, but just most territories are running in the 2 to 3 mile range.
Okay. So do you have any partnerships with schools, or is that based on the individual franchisee abilities?
We do not allow franchisees to go into schools, and we do not have any partnerships with schools. We're not a curriculum, so that is an important distinction between what we're doing and what the other guys are doing. We have a world-class curriculum that is the bedrock of what we do, but Code Ninjas is an experience. When you walk into a Code Ninjas center, you're going to see that it is different than a school. It is different than anything you've ever seen before. It's an experience unto itself and very unique, and that's part of our entire brand. If you want to go to a school event, or host something after school at a specific school, you need to work that out with the facility, but you also must have the dojo to go to do external events like that.
Okay, thank you.
The dojo to go is intended for those external events, but those are more one-off or maybe a 1-week kind of camp at a school, something like that. But we don't go into the schools, and the reason is we want to control that entire experience. Does that make sense?
Yep. Thank you.
All right. A lot of kids come to us and they love what we're doing because it's not an extension of school. And so by hosting it in the schools, we sometimes get a little bit caught up in being part of the school. And we want to be separate from what their education system is providing them today. How are you doing?
Good morning. Vinod here from Edison as well. 2 questions. One is, how many current open franchises do you currently have? I just looked some on the website as I was doing some research, and the only one I could find was in Pearland. Is that the case, or are there more opening up as we speak?
No, we have quite a few open. If you look at the map, any of the blue items, are open and ready to go. We have, I think, something like 8 to 10 that are already open. In the coming months, by June, we'll have 50 open. We've already got leases signed on all those. It's just a matter of build out and getting open.
Okay. That's good. Then I'm going to work with my colleague Vikas, who just had a question earlier, to reach out to Marty and get more details on the one. The second question would be, who do you consider as your competitor? Is it the Kumons, or is it?
No, definitely not. Definitely not your Kumons and Sulvins of the world. I think right now we are in a very unique spot. I think if you look across the landscape of after-school programs and specifically in coding, there's nobody that's striking a chord in a long-term 4-year engagement with a child that keeps them engaged in an edutainment space at all. There's nobody even close. We have other people that are doing coding in a franchise, but they aren't doing it in such a way that it keeps the engagement level that we do. The Coder School is an example of that. We've expanded dramatically, obviously over 160 locations in a 1-year period. They added 1 last year. Those guys are nice. They're great. I just don't think they were built for expansion and to be what we are. I don't see anybody in doing what we're doing the way and effectively like we're doing with as strong a brand. I mean, I know that's kind of a cop-out, but I just can't find anybody that's really competing with us.
Okay,
Hello?
thank you. No, that's fine. No, I was just curious, just because of the fact that we have a.
And if you think about why Kumon and Sullivan are not our competition, so Sullivan teaches coding right now. Before I started Code Ninjas, I went to Sullivan. My kid was kind of excited about learning some stuff. And so I was going to, get him in there and get him started. I walked up there with a sheet of paper that I printed from their website, and the manager there didn't even know that they taught coding. They had no idea. So the idea that you're going to put something like coding into a math and reading franchise is just kind of silly. They're not known for being the fun place to go. You ask anybody that sends their kids to those places, and their kids hate it. And I don't say that word lightly. And so we are not known. The simple reason that we are not in competition with them is because no kid ever said, "Hey, Mom, can I go to Kumon more often?" And they tell us that all the time. So that's basically why I don't think they're competition for us.
Got it.
All right.
Thank you. Yep.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi, I'm Walter from San Diego. I have 2 questions. The first one is, have you ever dealt with international franchisees?
We do not have. We are currently expanding into Canada. Our FDD for Canada will be available probably by April. We are looking at expanding into English-speaking countries this year, later in the year. So the UK, Australia, New Zealand, those types of places. We have not started that FDD process for each of those areas, though.
Understood. My second question is, do you have the franchisee business management software that can streamline the operation?
Yeah, we're all really big nerds over here, so we built a custom application stack specifically for Code Ninjas. In a previous life, for about 20 years, I was an enterprise-level application developer and architect. So we built enterprise-level, scalable, global infrastructure from the beginning.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. I probably shouldn't say we're all big nerds over here. Everybody on our development team is a big nerd over here. I think Shauna might get on to me for calling her a nerd. But how are you?
Hi, David. This is Vic. How are you? I'm from Massachusetts. So I'm just going to piggyback on one question, if I'm allowed. I just didn't hear that right. You said that it was a 4-year engagement for the kid?
Yeah, it's going to be 3 to 4 years for them to go from white to black belt.
Okay. I just didn't catch that, so I hope I'm still allowed my 2 questions.
Go ahead.
Thank you. One of my questions was, I know you said that you tend to differentiate yourself from an educational curriculum, but my question was around if the schools decide to ramp up their entire exposure to coding, which some of them have right now, but if the schools decide to ramp that up, how do you position yourself from a competitive in that competitive space? Like, I know you're not competing as a curriculum, but some parents might be discouraged to send them elsewhere to learn, to get entertained and yet to understand coding.
One of the largest kids-based franchises right now is Mathnasium. It's one of the fastest-growing kids-based franchises of all time. They still teach math in schools last time I checked, so there's always going to be a need for an after-school or an augmentation, especially in the space where kids want to be engaged at a different level than the academic stage. Does that make sense? We're engaging kids in their space. So there's always more that you could add. There's always things that we could do. I mean, right now we're in a unique position that, and I don't think this is going to change, frankly, for a very long time, that teachers don't have the ability to educate properly in coding because they're not privy to the inners of coding, frankly. It would be very hard to find people that are programmers that want to go into the public school system and teach this. It's just not going to happen. And so we're in a unique position that I don't think it's easy for the schools to compete with us.
Okay. Makes sense. My second question is, after the kids leave the dojo and they go home and they want to practice or they want to share their new creation with the parents and kind of extend this further, is there an option for this to take this to their home?
So yeah, that was a big part of what we do is we want them to brag to their neighbor about the game they built. And so what happens is everybody gets a wristband that's color-coded to the belt they're on. That's our way of giving them some kind of public identifier, and they wear it all the time. They wear it to school, in public, and so it's also comes some great branding for us. It has the Code Ninja head on it, and it has Code Ninjas written on there. But that's how they scan in. When they scan in at the front door, at the front desk, rather, it unlocks the curriculum for them to move forward for an hour. So they can't move forward in the curriculum until they scan in at your location. Now they can go home and log in, and we encourage them to do so and show off their games, but they can't go forward through the curriculum unless they're at your facility.
Okay. But they cannot go ahead with the curriculum, but within that same curriculum, they can be making modifications to their creations because my kid went for a similar project, so that's why I was asking.
Yeah, well, we encourage them to do that, right? That's part of their learning process is to go home and mess it up. I mean, failure is a huge part of programming. And so we encourage them to go home and mess up their games and try things out, copy their games over and make it differently and do everything they can to learn. We don't ever want to hold them back. But to move forward and to belt up and to hit those milestones that they're really, really, the competition within the dojo gets real. They want to beat their buddies and things like that, So to move forward, they got to come in.
Makes sense. Thank you. Thank you very much.
No problem. Another part of that is that the parent dojo it gives them access to all of their kids' games that they've played. The parents can come in and play those games and share it on Facebook and things like that so they can share it in the community. And that's just more recognition of your center in your local community done by the parents, so that's pretty cool. Hi, how are you?
Good. This is Doug Leeper in the Indianapolis area. Just had a couple questions. A lot of people already asked some of the questions that I had, but I'm just trying to understand in regards to, fees that you collect and what are the options. I think I heard a couple of them in regards to the money-making possibilities, be it to the drop-in after-school program. Now, is it basically just time-based? Because so each level, it's you said self-paced, and I might be answering my own question on this, but just walk me through this. Is that they pay a certain amount of time, and it's however fast they get to the next level. That's how they got a certain duration as far as that they pay for. Is that my understanding?
Well, everything is charged. The after-school program and the drop-in program is charged monthly. So it's $225 a month in Pearland. They come 2 times a week, and sometimes they'll come 10 times in a month, and sometimes they'll come 8 times in a month. We're not worried about that. Just like a gym membership or something like that, how the frequency by which they come is only limited in our case by 2 times a week. So they just pay monthly and come 2 times a week. But and that's how they kind of stay on track. And then you have some of those flex lessons that we call prove yourself lessons that you can put in there, I wouldn't say arbitrarily, but as stopgaps for them going too fast through your curriculum, and you can keep that student engaged at the right pace.
Gotcha. And how do they, quote-unquote, test out from one belt to another?
Part of every single belt is a capstone project that they have to build, and then the prove yourself lessons are literally proving that they learned what they were supposed to learn in that belt.
Okay. And who evaluates that? Is that the sensei that does that, or?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. No problem. Hi. How are you?
Good. This is Mike in Florida. I know you've touched on it a few times, but can you go to the curriculum and how maybe other than the drop-in program, how does the curriculum interact with, say, the after-school program or the camps? Are the camps totally separate? Like the after-school program, can someone be in both? Are they doing the curriculum during the week when they're there, say, 4 or 5 days a week?
That's a good question. They do not do both the after-school program and drop-in program. Those are an either-or option. But the summer camps are completely different. The only similarity between the summer camp and the drop-in program might be the tools we use. For example, we use the same robotics kit, which we call the Ninja Toolbox for the summer camp, but it has an expansion set for the summer camp. And so it's the kit that they might already have with an expansion set added on. And those lessons are unique, and they won't interfere with the drop-in program's lessons for robotics. So it's completely separate. It's like an augmentation. Everything we do in the summer camp is really to augment what they're learning already through the drop-in or after-school programs. And as far as the curriculum for the after-school program, it's exactly the same as the drop-in program, except there's a couple of days that we fill in the gaps with some over-the-counter stuff. And we give you all the schedules and all of that kind of stuff. So it's not a guessing game. You just kind of paint by numbers there.
So someone that's coming every day, they're not going through the curriculum any faster, so you can keep them engaged.
Correct.
You're just doing it within their time there, not all the time that they're there.
Correct. They're just doing it for 1 hour, 2 times a week, just like the drop-in students.
So you can keep them engaged for a long period of time, just like the drop-in.
Right, with other things. Right, exactly.
Great. And I had one other question on real estate and your experience. I noticed that you have a very wide range, which is great, in pricing. Are you finding that in these higher cost real estate areas, are you able to get the pricing to sort of match, maybe double what some other areas are paying in real estate? I don't know how specific you can.
Real estate, as far as the cost of a month-to-month real estate or the down payments, a relatively small portion of the total opening expenses, which is outlined in the FDD. I mean, let's say you had a 2,000 square foot space and it was $50 a month or something like that. That's a relatively high. I mean, $50 a foot annually. Right. That's a relatively high cost to open. You're going to have that's $8,300 a month, and you probably have to do that 2 times. So that's $17,000. But ultimately, in a $2,000 build-out or opening expense, that's really not that big of a discrepancy geographically. What we do see, however, is that the month-to-month costs are obviously more in those high-cost areas. And so maybe your pricing goes up or your pricing adjusts to reflect the cost in that area. But as far as opening costs, we have a FF&E vendor, that's furniture, fixtures, and equipment that's required. Those are pretty standard across the country. The only difference is going to be like shipping costs, depending on where you are. We have a national general contractor that can do most of the work across the country within a pretty reasonable range. So we've tried to make it as turnkey as possible, independent of geography. But you're right, the real estate is the only factor that we can't control unless we go around starting buying buildings and stuff, but that's not in the plan.
Right, yeah. I meant more for the ongoing, not for the opening costs. I understand those.
Oh, yeah. That's where we allow for the, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, I just meant for the ongoing profitability, do you see the ability, and it translates, the higher, being able to charge higher prices in higher rent areas, which is the whole point of, flexible pricing.
Yeah, we find that people in higher rent areas are accustomed to paying a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, they'll see it in other products. I just didn't know if it was translating, in your business. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So far, so good. Is there anything else?
I'm good, thanks.
All right. That was the last question in our queue. This call is just one learning channel that we set up so that people can understand more about Code Ninjas. If this is the first introduction to Code Ninjas that you have, I know a lot of people kind of hang back in the wings and just listen on these calls and then want to engage with our franchise development team. Now's the time. We have unique opportunities, but it is a very fast pace for opening our centers. Right now we have a lot of interest. We get 200 to 300 people interested every single week. If your heart is set on a specific area, time is of the essence. Call Marty or reach out to Marty via email is the best way. Marty at codeninjas.com. That's MARTY at codeninjas.com. He'll get you in touch with either himself or Jeff to set up an introduction call. And then we move forward to going into Discovery Day. If you've already talked with Marty and Jeff, and then this is your follow-up that they asked you to do, this call is one of many steps in getting to a Discovery Day event. And so we encourage you to engage with Marty or Jeff to get set up for that, to get invited to Discovery Day. It is invitation only. We don't let just anybody walk in off the street to Discovery Day. We want to make sure that we're all on the same page and that you're basically about 80% sold on moving forward with our event. I mean, we don't want people coming and that have early on questions because most of the people there are already well down the path. So if you're wanting to come to take the next big step, get with Marty, get with Jeff. We have a few checklist items to check off before you come. But, if everything works out and you look like a viable candidate and somebody that we would want to have in the family, then we'll make you that invitation. You'll RSVP. We usually do that the second week. We usually do Discovery Day the second week of every month. That would be the second Thursday of every month. So just kind of keep playing accordingly. But get in touch with Jeff or Marty to follow up on that. I appreciate your time today. These calls are one of the funnest things I do every week. I enjoy hearing the conversations and the questions that come up, and I just like kind of bragging about our brand a little bit. It's my proud baby here. It's my proud papa moment. This thing has gotten it's surprised everyone. Let's just say that we have really enjoyed working here and look forward to the next events coming up. It's all fun. So thank you a lot for your time. I know your time is valuable. Have a great weekend, everybody. Talk later.